Okay, so if you've recently moved to the UAE or you're thinking about moving here from either the UK or Europe, you might find the process of buying a car a little bit more difficult if you don't have any experience in the actual process. And I can resonate with you on this because I went through the exact same kind of not understanding what the process was, getting a little bit confused. It's completely different to the UK. So I thought I'd make a very quick guide on exactly the process that you need to follow to buy a car, register it, insure it, and also some tips and tricks and things that you need to be aware of when you are going about the process of buying a car here in the UAE. So we'll get straight into it, and this is where we're going to start. The step one, well, basically these are the steps. There's decide new versus used, if you're going to be financing it or cash purchase, vehicle inspection and valuation for the used cars, then your insurance, through to the registration, the RTA, other essentials, and the tips and pitfalls. Okay, just a little note, this is my car that I purchased here, C63S. Back in the UK, I had an M3, wanted a bit of a sports car here, and yeah, so that's what this is the process that I went through in order to purchase this car. Okay, so step one. The first thing that you need to understand is, so the first thing you need to decide is whether you're going to go for a new or a used car. And that's going to affect the process that you'll go through in order to do the registration, insurance, etc. So if you're looking for a new car, then you can go to showrooms such as these ones, Jetor Approved Automotive, which I'll go through in a second, or you can go for a used car where you can go through RTA certified dealers, Debizzle, private sellers, etc., etc. Now, a few points on this. Now, when you're purchasing a new car here in Dubai, what you'll find is the showrooms have fixed pricing, and they'll often bundle them with like service contracts or insurance contracts as well. So, for example, Jetor UAE, I would highly recommend going to have a look at these cars. They are a Chinese brand, but the quality is unbelievable. Like, it is a very, very good quality vehicle. And this is something that I'm actually looking to purchase next when I sell my car. So this is what I want to go for, the T2 SUV. It's very much like a Land Rover Defender at a fifth of the price. So just to give you an idea of what this costs, okay, this costs 150,000 dirhams, brand new, which is around £30,000. Included in that, let me just get this correct, and included in that, and you might not believe this, but you're going to get a 10-year warranty or 1,000,000 kilometers. 10 years warranty. On top of that, they'll also give you a 3-year service pack, comprehensive service pack, free window tinting, etc., etc. And you can also get a very, very good finance deal on this, usually around 0% up to 2%, depending if you've got the right documents, which we'll touch on later on in the video. So I would go have a look at Jetor, go look at the main dealerships if you can do. If you want to get a used car, then this is a very good dealership as well. It's called Approved Automotive. And they've got a big stock, very big, really professional premises, and they've got good quality vehicles. And the reason I say that is because when you're buying a used car here in Dubai, you need to be really aware that there are a lot of bad cars on the road, okay? So from previous histories or accidents, etc. So whilst the RTA checked before they're sold, go into an approved kind of dealership like this, you'll make sure that you're getting a good vehicle before. By going to a retailer like this, you'll get a trusted outlet for a good quality car. You will pay a little bit of a premium for it, but in my opinion, it's worth it. So, used cars, when you're going to look at used cars, you need to look and have a look. So when you're going to buy a used car, there are certain places that you can look for, which are places like Debizzle, which is like the auto trader, but kind of like all in one site. And you've got Dubi cars, which I'll go through in a second. Now, this is a really, really, really important thing that you need to be aware of, okay? Here in the UAE, you have a thing called the GCC spec, okay? Now, this is important because cars are designed and made to be driven or to live in this country because of the heat and other things that are involved in the production of the vehicle to ensure that they can stand the test of time here in this environment. So when you are buying a used car, it's always preferable to buy a GCC spec because the value will be kept, because when you're buying a GCC spec car, it will be a lot easier to sell and it will retain its value a lot more than versus an import. Now, for example, in my car is an American import. Okay, now I paid a lot less than what the value was on a GCC spec. Okay, but for me, I was happy. You know, I wanted a cheap, quick run around that I wasn't too bothered about the resale value later on down the line. So with the imports, there's cars coming from the American market, the European market, Japan, and sometimes further afield. Now, they are naturally worth less because they could have been in accidents, they could have been stolen. This is a big thing in the UAE. So you need to make sure that you check for this. Now, if you're happy, like I am, to buy a car that was imported, you can check the titles on the American cars, for example, to see if they've been stolen or if it's a clean title, that's what they're called. So I did a check on my VIN number before I did that, paid for it, and it came back as a clean title. And I paid a lot less for it, but obviously when I go to sell it, it's going to be a lot less than before as well. So for me, I was fine with that. If you want to ensure that you're getting a GCC spec car and you want to retain the value or don't want any problems selling it later on down the line, then I'd go for a GCC spec personally. Now, in comparison to the UK, how this is different, well, new cars, like from a dealership, you're going to have a lot more negotiation on price. There's hardly any negotiating on price here from new cars in Dubai. It just doesn't seem to happen. Whereas used cars in the UK, there's no really concern about the spec, though imports do exist. It's very rare to buy an imported car in the UK. So you don't really need to worry about this. And I would say that you have less wiggle room or less negotiation on used cars in the UK than you would here. So if you're buying a used car, there's often a preconception that you're going to barter. Okay. Another thing to notice is that you've got a lot more consumer protection laws like distance seller regulations and dealer responsibilities. I don't believe they exist here at all. So there's none of this like 3 months later, if you have an issue with it, the garage has to put it right. For example, if you're a used car seller in the UK, no matter what car you sell, if you sell it for your business, you have to give that customer a 3-month warranty, basically. So if there's anything wrong with it, they bring it back to you, you have to fix it, etc. That isn't apparent, that at least as far as that isn't applicable here, at least as far as I'm aware. Now, for used cars, you can use these two sites. The main one I would say is Dubizzle. So you can go onto here, go onto motors, search the car that you want to go for. If you want to go for a BMW here, and you can see actually approved cars have got a list in here. So you can see the difference between like the premium adverts, Blackline, that's another good company as well. So companies like Blackline approved, these are owned by European owners. I know Blackline is owned by UK owners. So they have a different way of dealing with people. You know, we're bringing that British kind of automotive sales experience and I'd say, service to the UAE market. So I would always prefer personally to buy from a business like this. Of course, you are going to pay a small premium, but its main thing is you're buying a car that they're going to put their name to and their reputation. So you've got all the second-hand cars from private sellers as well. So, you could search through here for ages and ages looking for the car that you want. Now, one thing I'd like to let you know that BMW, Mercedes, these kind of cars, they lose value a lot quicker here in the UAE compared to cars like Nissan, Toyota, etc., etc. Just seems to be a thing with the German manufacturers. So just be aware of that. I would always probably buy, I don't know on that one before I say that. I would say that just be prepared to lose a decent amount of value, especially on cars like Range Rovers as well. Okay, big thing. So that's a big thing to know about. Then you've got another site called Doobie Cars. So this is another good website. We advertise some of our vehicles on here. You can see approved automotive featured dealer. So yeah, that's the one thing to look out for two used cars. Obviously, you can go on Facebook Marketplace, etc. But just be aware you won't know who you're buying from, and there's no recourse if anything goes wrong with it. So, set 2, financing or cash. Now, this is a big difference to the UK. So pay attention if you're planning to buy a car on finance. If you've just moved here, you're going to struggle, in my opinion, to buy a car on finance. Even myself, after a year, I still can't access finance to buy a car, mainly because I'm a company director and I'm classed as a partner on the trade license. So the trade license is basically the business corporation, and I'm classed as that. And due to that regulation, I can't access finance as easy as other people. If you are coming here and you've got a job already, then you're going to get something called a salary certificate. Okay, so the salary certificate is basically of what it's self-explanatory. It's proving that you earn a certain amount of money per year or per month. So if you want to get a loan, you'll need to have an Emirates ID, a UAE driving license, which we'll touch on later in the video, and you need ideally 3 to 6 months of bank statements. Okay, now this is a big one. Okay, well, no matter what finance you go for, you will have to put 20% down, so a 20% deposit. So the UK comparison, having a 0% deposit doesn't exist here. No matter what finance deal it is, it's always going to have a 20% down payment. And then sometimes you'll have to do like a salary transfer to the bank as well with your salary certificate. So financing can be a bit of a headache, in my opinion, over here, especially if you've just moved here. If you're like in a fixed position, you've been here for a year or so, and you've got a salary certificate, you've got everything that you need, you're in employment, then it's a lot easier and you'll get better deals. Same thing goes for a mortgage. But if you're self-employed like I am, technically by my business, etc., it's a lot more difficult. And that's why I'm not going down the route of financing a vehicle here. In comparison to the UK, you've got wide choices of financing like PCP, HP, leasing, personal loans. Not sure there's much. You can lease a car here, but again, you still need to have these documents to do that. And the lenders in the UK don't care where your salary is paid as long as you've got your credit history. Different here. They will ask you where your salary is being paid into. And usually, for example, if you're banking with HSBC and your salary is being paid to a different bank, for example, then that's going to throw up a bit of an issue. So if you want to get finance through HSBC and you bank through HSBC, you'll have to make sure that your salary certificate or your salary every month is going into the same account. Otherwise, they won't allow it, or they'll make you pay more. Step 3. So once you've figured out where you want to pay finance, cash, etc., then we've got the vehicle inspection and valuation. Then this is really for used cars. Okay, so let's put you into the scenario that you've found a car that you like, you've agreed a deal with the seller for the amount. Now you need to go through the vehicle inspection and valuation. So usually the seller will obviously do this before, as part of this process. So when we're in the UK, if the car has a valid MOT, it can be sold. Okay, but here in Dubai, every single time that vehicle has to be sold or change ownership, it must be taken to one of these things called an RTA inspection. So you'll see them around Dubai. I've seen it if you search it into Google, Tasjil or RTA inspection. There's quite a few of them all over the place, and that's what they look like. Test bay here, etc., etc. So think of this like a government approved or government run testing center for the cars. So if you want to sell the car, you have to go and have this done first. And this is basically like an MOT. So they'll check over the vehicle, make sure it's in good condition or acceptable condition before it can be sold. You can get obviously different things done at the same time, like car history reports. And if you are buying, like I said, from imports from the US, Japan, accident history is a real risk. So this would usually bring that up and you'll be notified about it. So again, you have to, I think the test is like 20-30 pounds. It's not a huge amount of money, 150 dirhams, 200 dirhams. You can also get VIP lanes here if you don't want to wait, because sometimes these centers can get busy, because you imagine every single person in the UAE or in the local area who's buying and selling cars, they have to go and do this every single time. So it's a busy experience sometimes. And then in the UK, of course, there's no government mandated test before sale. If you wanted to just sell your car to somebody, you just do a hand exchange of money and hand them over the logbook, and you send it off, and it's done. Here, the buyer does an MOT check, HPI check. Sorry, in the UK, the buyer might do an MOT check, a HPI check, maybe an independent inspection. Again, it's not necessary. This is necessary here in the UAE. And again, we've already gone through that. So yeah, just search Tasjil into Google Maps and you'll find lots of them. Okay, step 4, insurance. Another big one, and I think this is quite a good system really, because it means there's no uninsured drivers on the road. Well, I suppose there's a ways around it, but you must have insurance before registering the car. Okay, so when you do the registration process, which is technically the transfer of ownership, as we would call it, you have to insure the car first. Okay, so the premiums can be heavily influenced by nationality, age, and car spec, of course, as they would. I think it works out on comprehensive insurance. I think they quote it around 5% of the vehicle value. I think that's what it is. And the no claims history, I'm not sure that they have that kind of thing over here personally. Now, the one important thing to note is that you can you can insure a car on third party only. So this is a lot cheaper, of course. I think I pay around £200 a year for my third party insurance on my car. Don't have comprehensive, I'm not too fussed about it. So, you can get comprehensive insurance, of course, but you need to have some form of insurance before you can transfer the car into your name. Okay, so what you do is, again, you go to the testing center, you call your insurance broker, you get the quote, you pay the policy, they send you an insurance certificate, and then you take the insurance certificate and the testing certificate to the transfer center. Okay, imported cars are often more expensive or hard to insure. That's true. UK comparison, as we know, insurance is required before driving, but you can transfer or register without it. There's no, we know all this stuff here. So, premiums mainly based on postcode, car group, age, no impact of nationality. Okay, so step 5, registration. Now, this is a little bit complicated, I would say, in some ways, if you don't understand the process. Again, hopefully this video is going to help you a lot. So once you've got your insurance and you've got your test certificate, you go to the RTA center, the Road Traffic Authority. Okay, so RTA means Road Traffic Authority, and you'll go to the center with the seller. So the buyer and the seller must be present at the same time. Okay, and the documents that you'll need as a buyer is, or both of them, you need your Emirates ID, your UAE driving license, your insurance certificate, the RTA test certificate for used cars. You don't need that on new cars. A sale agreement, and the seller's mulkia. So the mulkia is basically like a registration card for the vehicle. Okay, so it's like an ID for the car. So it's got all the different information on it, the number plate, place of issue, owner, nationality, expiry date, etc., etc., and then the car details on the back. So the seller will have to bring that to the test center. The comparisons to the UK, well, this is done by the DVLA. The seller gives you the V5 logbook, and then the buyer sends the details in the online or post, and then the plates usually stay with the car unless it's a private reg. Now, that's important. At this process, when you do the RTA registration, you'll be given new plates. Okay, so the plates won't be the same as what you bought, what are already on the car. Good thing is that you can choose your own plates and your own numbers. Within reason, there's VIP numbers and different number plates. And the big thing here in the UAE is that number plates are worth a lot of money. So if you see like single digits, 2 digits, 3 digits, 4 digits, they're worth a lot of money. So you can obviously keep them and transfer them onto your car if you have them already, but you won't get you won't keep but you won't keep the number plates on the car from the previous owner. Okay, so takes a few days a week to receive the V5, so you're slower, but there's no need to go to an office. So this is like, obviously it's done within an hour or two, and it can be a pain if you go to some of the really, really busy ones. But sometimes I've been a couple of times when we've sold vans, for example, and we've been there within 10 minutes. You can go to the VIP lane, pay a little bit more, and you get seen to straight away. That's always good if you're in a bit of a rush. So yeah, once you've done your registration, that's pretty much it. You've got your car, it's in your name, and then you've got a couple of other essentials. So here, what we have is a SALIC toll tag. So this is what you need to drive on the main road. So instead of like having toll stations where you stop and pay a toll, you'll just have this little chip thing in your car, which every time you pass through one of the toll stations on the main road, it will just take a small amount, and it's absolutely minimal. I don't think I've even ever topped up my SALIC toll tag in a year now. So it's like you literally don't notice the cost. It's absolutely negligible. Okay. You will need to do annual vehicle testing after 3 years. So the same as MOTs in the UK, after the first 3 years of being new, you have to do an MOT or testing every single year. If you want to do if you want to park in certain areas, then like public parking, then you'll just download the RTA app, and then you can pay on your phone. You just put the location in, and you just literally pay on it with Apple Pay, etc. So yeah, no toll tags except for Dartford bridges, and the parking permits are handled by the local councils, not the central government. So yeah, all the RTA, all the public parking is all owned and controlled by the government in one single place. So to be fair, the prices of parking in the UAE are very, very fair, in my opinion. Okay, so step 7, once you've got all your little essentials, you've got your registration, you've got the car, you're driving away. That's it. It's very, very simple. you know, in Dubai with cash and documents, you can buy, insure, register, and drive a car within 24 hours. So in the UK, you know, if you're buying with finance, it could take a lot longer. Though my point on this is that if you try to get finance in the UAE, it's going to be a lot longer than in the UK. I've been through processes of 4 to 5 weeks before with certain clients in my business who have tried to get finance for the vehicles, and yeah, literally 4 to 5 weeks going backwards and forwards, documents, this, questions is a real pain. To be honest, it's a real pain trying to get finance here. DVLA paperwork can delay official ownership of the car, although a logbook doesn't state that you are the owner of the car, let's be honest. So, you know, that's one thing. And then it's less common to do this in the UK, where you can drive away same day, although it does happen. So, you know, I would, weighing up the two systems against each other, personally, I think it's a lot easier to buy a car in the UK. It's a lot less hassle, let's be honest. However, I think that the system here in the UAE is a lot more protective for both sides, you know, mainly for the buyer on used cars, because you know that the car is going to be tested by government officials. They can't be bribed. There's no like MOTs that can be faked, etc. You know that you're having a car to be checked. And one thing as well, you can't sell the car if you have outstanding fines on it. So if you get a fine, like a speeding fine, it'll be on the plate to you personally, and you won't be able to sell that or transfer the ownership until you've cleared that fine. So, you know, there's a few things that slow down the process here in the UAE, but, and I guess it kind of also helps to reduce issues later on down the line for both parties. So there's pros and cons to both, personally. Okay, tips and pitfalls. This is really important. So, you know, a little tip, you know, you can buy cars around Ramadan end of year because they'll often do very good deals like free insurance, service, or low down payments. Now, one thing to be aware of, like, it's super important. And well, now, one thing that you might want to consider if you can get finance is going to some of the main dealerships, because they offer crazy finance deals. Like 0% is not something to that is unheard of. You know, it happens a lot. I see offers across the board from many different retailers for 0% finance, which is a dream, you know, compared to the UK, where sometimes you can be paying up to 9-10% for used car finance. So it's a very good option to go down the route of, and actually I think the average finance rate, APR APY, is 2% per year. So it's absolutely minimal. So if I could have finance, I would buy a car straight away on it, because it makes no sense to pay outright. Obviously, avoid cars, unpaid fines, loans, and non-GC specs. Well, you can't sell a car with unpaid fines and loans anyway, so that's not important, but try to avoid non-GCC specs personally. And then end of quarter dealer bonuses. Well, I'm not going to go through this UK comparison because it's not really. Again, in comparison to the UK, these things, you know, you got end of quarter dealer bonuses, I mean, good deals. You got much stronger consumer rights in the UK. You like the dealers must repair and replace faulty cars, and there's no risk of nationality-based insurance premiums. So one thing to just touch back on, where we went through this UAE driving license. Well, when you come to the UK, to the UAE, you need to make sure that you exchange or convert your license to the UAE version as soon as possible, because once you have your Emirates ID, if you continue to drive with your UK driving license, that is illegal. So once you've got your Emirates ID sorted, the first thing you need to do is take your UK driving license down to the RTA center, and you need to convert it into the UAE version. And it's very quick, very easy process. Again, doesn't cost a lot of money. You can do it very quickly. Again, ChatGPT is a lifesaver. As you can see here, I went into a little bit more detail on some of the points, but what you can do is just say, you know, what documents do I need to transfer my license thing? But it's very simple. You need an eye test, which you need to go to a certified opticians very quickly to do that. It's very simple, it takes 10 minutes. You need a UK license and a couple of things. Go down there, they'll transfer or convert your license to the UAE version. And I think it looks a little bit like this. I've got it here, so you can have a look at it. In fact, no, I'm not going to show my legal documents on a video, but yeah, very simple. So anyway, I hope this video has been helpful. As always, I'm trying to do my best to help people move over to UAE, give you a bit of the real life insight into living here. If you like this kind of content, if anything else you want me to touch on, please just drop me a comment below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys.